Have you ever felt like your assessments just don't quite match what you're teaching? Like there's a disconnect between what students learn and how they're evaluated? Well, you're in the right place. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to align your assessments with your learning objectives. And it's way easier than you think. We're diving into practical strategies that you can start using today to make sure your assessments reflect exactly what your students are learning. Stick around because I'll be sharing my top 3 alignment hacks that will boost your classroom success instantly and make your assessments more meaningful and effective. Let's get started. All right, let's talk about something that might seem obvious, but can really make or break your classroom success: defining clear learning objectives. I know, it sounds kind of basic, but stay with me, because the way you approach this can change everything about how effective your teaching and your students' learning can be. Imagine you're a student and the teacher starts talking about understanding the subjunctive mood. Your eyes might start to glaze over, right? It sounds technical, abstract, and honestly, kind of intimidating. Now, what if instead you heard, be able to talk about what might happen in the future using might or may? Suddenly it's like a light bulb clicks on. Oh, that's something I can use. Reframing learning objectives into student-friendly language isn't just a nice thing to do. It's a total game changer. It transforms something abstract into something actionable, something students can wrap their heads around and actually apply. The key here, when students understand exactly what they're working towards, they know how to get there and they feel like they can do it. But let's take it even further. It's not just about making things understandable. It's about making them relevant. You know what makes students excited to learn? Knowing what they are learning today will actually help them tomorrow. This is why aligning your learning objectives to real-life tasks is so powerful. Instead of saying, practice formal writing skills, try something like, write a short email inviting a friend to an event. Suddenly, the task feels real. It's something they'll actually need to do in their lives. It moves learning out of the theoretical and into the practical. And here's the magic. When students see a purpose, they put in more effort and they understand why it matters. And now let's talk about those I can statements. Don't underestimate their power. Imagine your students walking into class and seeing a goal like, I can describe my daily routine in Spanish. It's clear, it's straightforward, and it's measurable. Suddenly, they have a target, something concrete, and they can achieve by the end of the lesson. It shifts the focus from learning something vague to being able to do something specific. And at the end of the day, they can self-assess and actually say, hey, I did it. I can do that. It's motivating, it builds confidence, and it aligns perfectly with how we want to assess them. When objectives are clear and connected directly to what they're doing, assessments stop feeling like pop quiz surprises and start feeling like a natural part of the learning journey. So, if you want your assessments to hit the mark, it all starts here. Define those objectives clearly, make them relevant, and give students a real sense of what they can achieve. And trust me, you'll be amazed at how much more effective and enjoyable your teaching can become. Okay, let's dive into assessments. Now I know, just hearing the word assessment might make you think of rows of desks, sharpened pencils, and students nervously staring at multiple choice questions. But let me ask you, what if we could make assessments something that actually matches what we're trying to teach? Something that doesn't just measure what students have memorized, but what they can actually do. That's exactly what we're going to explore today. Think about it. If your goal is for students to talk about their daily activities, why would we give them a written quiz on vocabulary? Sure, knowing the words is important, but if our objective is spoken communication, shouldn't our assessments involve, speaking? Imagine setting up an oral assessment where students describe the routine in their own words. Not only does this reflect the learning goal directly, but it also gives them a real chance to put the language into action. They're not just recalling vocabulary, they're using it, making it meaningful, and building real communicative skills. The key here is to make the assessment match what you're actually teaching, so the focus stays on the learning, not just the testing. And speaking of moving beyond traditional tests, let's talk about performance-based assessments. Why not trade in those endless paper quizzes for something a little more, interactive? If you're teaching conversational skills instead of a multiple choice test on the right response, let's have students act it out in a role play scenario. It's more fun, it's dynamic, and it gives you a way better picture of how well they're grasping the material. Plus, it's way more engaging for them. They're actively participating in the assessment, not just passively filling in bubbles on a Scantron. When students get to demonstrate what they've learned in a real-life context, they feel more connected to the material, and you get a much clearer idea of their progress. And finally, here's a secret that can take stress out of assessments for both you and your students. Leverage formative checkpoints. These are like those little pit stops on a road trip. Quick, easy, and super useful to make sure everyone's still on track, instead of waiting until the big test to find out if students understand. Why not use exit tickets or quick comprehension checks during lessons? You could ask something like, can you give me one example of a past event you talked about today? These quick checks align perfectly with your learning goals and give you real-time feedback. And the best part, they make the whole process less high stakes for students. It's a win-win. Students get ongoing support, and you get a snapshot of where they are without the pressure of a formal test. So forget the idea that assessments have to be intimidating or disconnected from your teaching. Design them to reflect your goals, make them active, and keep them ongoing. When you do that, assessments become a tool for learning, not just a measure of it. And that's where the real magic happens. Hey there, language teachers! Are you ready to level up your CI game? Well, get excited because the Comprehended 2025 conference is coming this February. Picture this, a wide variety of CI-based sessions packed with strategies that are practical, powerful, and ready to revolutionize your classroom, all from the comfort of your couch, your favorite cafe, or even in pajamas. We don't judge here. With registration options for 3, 6, 9, or even 12 months, all access passes, you can go at your own pace, binge watch your favorites, or just soak it all in whenever you have internet access. It's like the Netflix of language teaching, but way more inspiring. And let's be honest, probably less guilty pleasure and more guilt-free professional growth. So what are you waiting for? Grab your pass at comprehended.co/register and get ready to dive into some seriously amazing sessions. We can't wait to see you there, virtually of course. Let's talk about feedback. It's one of those things we all know is important, but it can be tricky to get just right. You want to make sure your feedback is actually helping students grow, not just marking off boxes or pointing out what went wrong. But here's the secret. The best feedback isn't just about what a student did. It's about why what they did matters in the context of their learning goals. And that's where aligning your feedback to your objectives can make all the difference. Picture this. A student just finished telling you a story about what they did last weekend, and they've worked hard to use the past tense correctly. Instead of a generic good job, which is nice but vague, imagine saying you did a great job using the past tense verbs in your story, which was our learning goal. Suddenly, the students know exactly what they did well and how it connects to what we're supposed to be learning. This kind of objective specific feedback helps students understand that they're on the right track. Not just because you said so, but because they met a specific goal. And the payoff? They start to see feedback as a roadmap to success, not just a judgment. And if you want to take your feedback game to the next level, think about using rubrics that directly reflect your learning objectives. A rubric is like a secret decoder ring for your students. It breaks down exactly what they need to know and how it will be assessed. If your objective is to use the future tense accurately in a speaking task, then your rubric should clearly show that. It's like giving your students a checklist for success before they even start. They know what's expected, and you can give them focused feedback on where they excelled and where they could improve. No more mystery. No more guessing. It's all laid out, and that clarity can be a huge confidence booster. But here's where it gets really fun. Getting your students involved in the feedback process. Self-assessment and peer review are total game changers. Imagine giving your students a checklist that matches the learning objectives and asking them to evaluate their own work or a classmate's. Suddenly, they're not just passively receiving feedback, they're actively looking for alignment between their work and the goals. They're asking themselves, did I use the future tense correctly here? Or how can I improve this part? This kind of reflective practice isn't just helpful for learning, it turns feedback into a shared journey. making it meaningful and engaging. So, if you want your feedback to really stick, make it specific, make it clear, and make it collaborative. Aligning feedback with objectives isn't just about improving grades, it's about empowering students to understand their learning paths and take control of the progress. And that's when feedback becomes more than just words on a page, it becomes a tool for real transformational growth. And there you have it. Simple, effective ways to align your assessments with your learning objectives. If you found this helpful, you're definitely going to want to check out my next video on the top 5 reasons you need to rethink your assessments. Trust me, you won't want to miss these game-changing insights. Just click right here to keep the learning going. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What's one assessment strategy that worked wonders in your classroom? Drop it in the comments below and let's share some inspiration. Until next time, happy comprehensible input.